Hello, I'm Debra, licensed marriage and family therapist, and I go live Tuesdays and Thursdays for what I call pause and process. And my main intent is as a collective, we have gone through a pandemic and two wars and many administration changes, so much going on. That's just on a global scale. And then we have what we're all going through on our personal levels, which our nervous system only knows our lived experience. So it doesn't compare and contrast to what's worse. A stress that's in our immediate present is a stress. And I'm actually going to show my hand model that with every client that I work with, I show at my first session and I reference it often. And I will use pages from my book, which is a book that I've created meant to be an intervention. I have a whole webinar on it because kids don't come with an instruction manual. And so this is an opportunity to attune and get to know what your unique child needs to feel safe, seen, soothed, and secure. And so I'm going to show my hand model. So usually in these pause and process, I talk for the first 15 to 20 minutes, and then I walk through a meditation for 10 to 15 minutes, some sort of exercise, because getting in our body is vital and essential. The body keeps a score. And I, as a trauma specialist, specialize in trauma. Trauma is anything that happens to us that is too much, too fast, too soon for our unique nervous system. And we have no safe place to process, express, and make sense of it. And then when we don't have these outlets, then it creates dysfunction, dysregulation, disharmony, disease, a lot's going on. And so I often will use this jar to show I have dirt and glitter in it, all life events and things that are happening and stuff we don't process. When we shake it up, it gets filtered, and you'll see what happens is it sits. So that's what we're doing in pause and process. So thank you for joining. So the hand model that I use initially, it comes from a lot of, I've trained and read a lot with Dr. Dan Siegel and Dr. Bruce Perry. And so, but collectively, I've worked with lots of Peter Levine, Bessel van der Kolk, and kind of weave in all my experience firsthand as I have used to work for one of my first jobs out of graduate school was Department of Human Services. Very intense. I provided intensive family therapy. So worst case scenario situations. So this is my model. So what I'm doing is I'm using my hands as our right and left side. And just to give a little data, when we are growing in the womb, our brain grows sequentially. So first we start at our base. This is the brainstem. And that is right there. In my book, I use a gator. Again, obviously, the brain is much more complicated. I'm simplifying it into the triune brain, but there's much more to it. And so we have the brainstem. This is our spinal cord, and our brainstem is responsible for all the things to keep us alive. It's our survival part, our breathing, our heart rate, our digestion, our reflexes. So everything that we do unconsciously that we don't have to think about gets stored in here. The other thing that happens is any events, any traumatic events, any experiences that we had no safe place get stored here. So this is also our state memory gets stuck in here. And so how we were parented, 0 to 7, everything that happens to us gets downloaded into this part of our brain, and it's implicit memory. So you might not know exactly, but it's there. It's downloaded into your brainstem. And then often I like to jump up to our prefrontal cortex. This is where our executive functioning, our smart files are. This is the oldest part of our brain if you look at our evolution. And the top part is our youngest part of our brain. This is the part, and smallest. It is the part that has evolved as humans have evolved. And this prefrontal cortex is responsible for thinking, planning, organizing, knowing right from wrong. All those are higher functioning skills, and that's located on the top here. And then tucked in the middle, and actually, as I have the two hands together, I'm going to show that actually as we're developing, There's talks behind the right and the left side. I'm not going to go great in detail about that, but the right tends to be more creative and play and expressive, and then the left seems to be more logical. Obviously, a lot more to it. But that as we're growing as children, actually, the right side develops more first. That's why kids, for many reasons, they're also kids are at a frequency. We also are at different levels of frequencies. That's why when things happen to us, it really matters. Actually, I'm going to talk in the future. I'm going to talk more about why we have all these diagnoses. I think I'm going to plan a little talk on that for Tuesday. But because everything, our brain is developing from bottom up, and what is going on in our environment really matters. What's getting stimulated, what's being provided for us in those moments, is going to help with integration and help with all that. So if we're not getting our vital needs met at that stage of development, that's why there's some myriad of disease and dysfunction that can be categorized, but it comes from the root of a child developing, and that there's milestones that they must meet. And if you don't, then you're not going to get that integration. So that's that in a nutshell. But I will do another talk on that. But so as you go up, as I talked about, so we have this brainstem, you have the gator, and then I use an owl in my book for the wise part, the prefrontal, our executive functioning skills, and then tucked in the middle is the amygdala. It's our sensor, our emotional, social part, that kind of lays in between. And I use a dog in my book. And so I like to use the dog as metaphor because I've done a talk about neuroception. Neuroception is that process of scanning for threats, and we are scanning 24/7. I think, and it's so key to know that, like, because I look at it from my work with children. I work with all ages, but for the developing child point of view, their nervous system, the frequency of that, they are just a live wire. They are just everything is coming at them. That's why it's hard to sit still because they're sensing everything, and so they're on 24/7. And for anybody, adults alike, with this part of our brain is on scanning for threats or cues of safety. And it's important to note that this is a perception. It does not, especially for a child, that we don't know if it's real or not. It's it's a perception. You're perceiving something, and so once your nervous system scans, or it's the dog part of your brain, and imagine how a dog is when a dog hears a sound. They have big, intense hearing, and that's why I talk about our sensations. That's somatics. Somatic is from the body, soma from the body. We It's sensory based, and so our sight, our sound, our smell, our touch, we're feeling that. And so if your dog part, your sensor, senses, perceives something that is unfamiliar, unknown, and again, that's why I say anything that's unfamiliar is initially like, it's a quick, this is eighth of a second. Once it picks up a cue of threat, senses something, it takes an eighth of a second for it to have a reaction. And so, and actually, I had just learned, that's I'm always learning. I had actually learned that feelings actually come at a fourth of a second. So that's even it's unbelievable. No, it's 16th of second. Sorry. You have an emotion even faster before you'll have the reaction of the threat. So emotions, that's why I teach. I have a reframe, positive reframe on emotions. Emotions get a bad rap, but again, we're emotional beings. So you have emotions, and they're actually very important. Going back here, you're scanning, and if you perceive a threat, um, actually, you know what I'm going to first say? If we perceive that we're feeling safe, we are, and we're getting cues of safety. That's why I'll use the phrasing, and I got that from Dr. Dan Siegel, safe, seen, soothed, and secure. I use that a lot. And actually, you need to feel safe, seen, soothed over and over and over again to feel secure and have secure attachment. I'll do another talk on that. But so if you're seeing cues of safety and love and warmth, and it's matching, you're feeling it in your mind, your body, your spirit, you're going to stay connected to your smart files so you can think clearly. So if you even look at my jar, it's starting to clear up as you settle. And that's the thing. If especially from a child's point of view, if you have someone next to you, because what you're going to do when you sense that threat, you're going to go to your short-term memory. And if you're having good memories, and then, or if you have someone next to you that helps you feel safe, seen, soothed, and secure, you're going to stay connected, and you can access your smart files. and make good decisions and have empathy and organize and all that good stuff. However, if your scan picks up a threat and goes back to your memory bank and it has no good memory of this going well, it only has actually a bad experience recently or even in the past, that wasn't processed, that memory gets activated because it's going to go. And then also, if it has no one next to them or within range that helps them feel safe, seen, soothed, or secure, what our brain's going to do is it's going to flood the brain with cortisol and a lot of other stress hormones, and it's going to keep flooding the brain. And then what's going to happen again, and if no one's coming, if there's no comfort coming, our alarm bells are going off. And there's other terms called them, it's emotional, even it's amygdala hijacked. It feels like you have a gun to your brain. And again, it doesn't compare. It's not in those moments. Our brain is just about survival. So it's not comparing whether it's that, a lot of parents get upset when kids are like, oh, it's a blue cup versus a red cup. Like they feels like they're having breakdowns for no good reason. But from their brain, that's all they know. And so that feels like a threat. And that's why, so their brain is being flooded with stress hormones. You flip your lid and you can no longer access your prefrontal cortex, your reasoning, your knowing your right from wrong, problem solving. And you're going to flip your lid. And then by default, you are going to activate, you're going to go to your survival brain, which is your state brain, which houses fight, flight, or freeze. And there's even dorsal collapse. There's so fight, flight, freeze. There's even fawn. There's a few of them, but the basic ones are fight, flight, freeze. And you're going to do whatever you need to do to stay alive in that situation, which is going to vary. That's why there's some different ones. Um, some maybe tend to do one more than the other. Some we may go oscillate and go back and forth. But so the other thing, so once you flipped your lid and you're going to go to fight, flight, or freeze, your survival brain, you're also going to pull from your, what was when I was talking about being downloaded, what happened to you 0 to 7, or any events that haven't been processed, expressed, or made sense of. Those are in your state memory. You're also going to pull from there. So then all of a sudden your thoughts are going to be, this is where we have negative core beliefs. We have, there's cognitive distortions we have. We can do a whole talk on that. But that's what's going to happen when you're on fire. And it is so important. Why I'm wanting to help people learn to pause, because the cheapest and easiest way to connect the smart part to your prefrontal cortex and get back online is to take a deep breath. So with that in mind, let's take 3 conscious deep breaths, breathing in through your nose, long exhale through your mouth. Now I'm guiding you, so this is why I say take 3 or 4, because usually our first ones are more shallow, because when you're in a stress state, your breathing is more shallow. There's ways that we react. And so take at least 2, 3, 4. And so I'll say 4. And you're literally getting oxygen to all the cells in your brain. You're communicating to your nervous system that you are indeed safe and in control, although you may feel alone, although there are real things happening to you, and you may not have someone next to you to hold your hand and guide you through the breath. And this is why I wrote my book, because we're not rewarding kids when we give them love and compassion. Actually, I'm going to do a compassionate meditation is what I'm going to walk you through. That is a vital need to feel safe, seen, soothed, thus secure. Because over time, then that will build secure integration. And our like as I mentioned, we develop from bottom up, and it takes to age 25 for this prefrontal cortex to finish developing. But 85% is developed by the age of around 7, 8. And we switch frequencies, brain frequencies. But either way, we need compassion. We need love. We need to feel safe, seen, soothed, and secure. And so the breathing is essential. And that's why, don't go telling, like often people like, you need to take a deep breath. As parents are learning these skills, or anyone, it's like, no one likes to be told what to do. That's actually then perceived as a threat. So I often say, invite or let's take a deep breath. I need to just own your own body. You're likely, if you're saying that, you're also feeling dysregulated. You'll notice I'll use words. I've talked about dysregulation and regulation. Regulation is when we are connected and can access our smart files and feel calm and in our body. Doesn't always mean calm, but you can at least have some activity. We'll talk a lot about mindfulness, being able to witness what's happening without judgment and curiosity. Um, whew. So it's important that as you practice this, just own your own nervous system. I have a talk on nervous system, describing more what that means. And I need to take a deep breath. Let's take a deep breath. I encourage you to weave in deep breaths as much as you can. You can even do them proactively to just help give your nervous system some space so that it can take on more to process. So that is how our brains are processing stimulation and cues of threat and safety all the time. So now I'm going to walk us through a compassionate friend meditation. This is adapted from Cornfield and Gilbert, and I share the link. Anything I talk about, I share links. Um, and I'm getting this from a self-compassion mindfulness whole kind of curriculum that I've shared quite a few times that I share the link to. So please get comfortable position. You want to be reasonably upright and relaxed. Make sure there's no distractions if you need to turn something off or if you want a sip of water. And again, if you're not able to fully engage into the meditation, because I also encourage people, because even meditation can feel threatening because it's new, it's foreign. Wow, I'm gonna pause. It can feel weird. There's lots of benefits. Actually, I might share a link on what are the benefits of meditation. But I encourage, even if you can't get into it, there's no wrong here. You're introducing something new. So again, it's gonna might be perceived as a threat. So just listen to the words, and it's okay if you don't fully engage or you don't get it and really get it. Um, so do what feels right. I encourage. It's so important for you to have agency and to do what feels right for you. So when you feel comfortable, gently close your eyes if that feels comfortable, and take a few more deep breaths to settle your body. And you can put one or two hands over your heart and remind yourself that you're going to give yourself loving attention. And now imagine yourself in a room that is safe and cozy and comfortable. It's the perfect room for you, just the way you like it. The lighting is perfect. The furniture is just right. Make yourself comfortable in your room, however that is. And now I am distracted by my cat. So I'm going to let the cat in. Wow, it's interesting because my next lines will be, you will receive a visitor. So you're cozy in your room, whatever you need to do. And I want you to imagine that you'll receive a visitor in your room. And I appreciate patience as my cat is meowing, which my cat represents a lot of goodness for me. So you have a visitor coming in your room. It's a light being who embodies qualities of wisdom, strength, warmth, and unconditional acceptance, which is quite synchronous, as this cat represents my mom's energy, which is why I've started to do these pause and process as I process her transition. So for you, What is a light, a person, a being? This could also be Christ, the Buddha, whatever for you aligns with someone. It can be a figure, mythology, whatever comes to mind that just represents wisdom, strength, warmth, and unconditional acceptance. It could also be a compassionate person from your past, like someone who's passed away. It could just be a warm, loving presence without any particular form. There's no right or wrong here. It's a being of light that you would like to visit for a while. Your room has a door that you can open, and you go to the door and open it for your compassionate friend who is visiting, and you invite them in. Place yourself at the right distance from your compassionate friend, not too close, not too far, so whatever comes naturally. To be next to them and enjoy their company of this loving being. See your compassionate friend in your mind's eye. Enjoy his or her company. There's nothing special you need to do with them except savor the moment with them in this room with you. Your compassionate friend would like to tell you something that is just what you need to hear right now in your life. Listen carefully to what your compassionate friend has come to say. If there are no words, that's okay. Just share his or their good company. That's a blessing in itself. Noticing how you feel in their light, in their presence. Just be with your friend listening if there's anything you should hear. If you do notice distractions, just notice that and then let it float away like a cloud. And then go back to that room with your special friend, compassionate friend. You can always anchor back into your breath if it's distracting. In through your nose and out through your mouth. And in the room, with this person or being or light that helps you feel safe and soothed, seen, and cared for. Soon your friend will be leaving. But before this happens, your friend would like to give you something, a material object. As you place your hands together, your friend reaches out and puts an object in your hands. Or an object simply appears in your hands. Something that has special meaning for you. What is it? Just allow whatever comes. Don't overthink it. Our brains like to do that. Just notice what naturally came. What did you receive from your compassionate friend? And look over it carefully. Notice how it feels, what it brings up in you. Soon it will be time for your friend to leave, but they can return at any time. Open the door. Enjoy the company of your compassionate friend, lighter being for the last moment, and then bid them farewell. You are now alone in your room again. Let yourself savor what just happened, enjoying the words and the object that was given to you, knowing that you may invite your compassionate friend back at any time. And when you're ready, I want you to notice your feet on the ground and how your body is resting on whatever you're choosing to sit on. You may wiggle your toes and fingers, raise your shoulders if they are, and slowly open your eyes. Enter back into the room that you're in. And scan from head to toe. Notice how you're feeling after taking those conscious deep breaths and doing this compassionate friend meditation. And as I was talking about our amazing brain, um, as I was saying about perceiving, the other magical thing is our brains actually can't perceive the difference between real or imagination, which is how come meditations and guided visualizations are so effective, because you literally can transport your mind, body, and spirit to those places by visualizing and perceiving it. So, and that's why closing your eyes can help when you feel safe. That's what's so amazing, how powerful and what innate goodness our minds, bodies, spirits, and nervous systems have and provide us. And So I encourage you that you can. It's I think when in our high pass society we're in, I often find we need someone to lead and guide us through, because we have so many distractions and so many things that pull us. So that's another reason why I'm doing these. Yet everyone's voice is different, sayings different. So I encourage, going on YouTube and Googling, searching a topic and trying different sounds and voices and what resonates best for your nervous system, because not it has to fit and resonate for you. So I encourage you to do that. Do take time. That's why I'm doing this, so that I want to help people learn that less is actually more, and there are simple, playful ways to weave in um, self-care and ways to pause and process. There's many ways to process the stressors that are happening in our life. As a therapist, I tend to be talk therapy, but I actually do more, that's actually top down. You look at the brain. I tend to do, that's why I talk about somatic therapy and a lot of other approaches that are bottom up therapy approaches. which are most effective for those who have endured trauma. And sadly, there is much more of that. And I want to give gifts so that we can minimize trauma and prevent it and heal it to the best to our abilities. So thank you so much for listening. Please subscribe, share, comment if there's a specific topic. I have positive reframe videos I do as well. Or if you have questions, I'm happy to weave them into these because I love sharing and I'm always learning. So take wonderful care.